Picture this. You've spent weeks planning an elaborate dinner, booked a stunning venue, arranged the table, sent out the invitations, and built up the anticipation. But on the night itself, the most important guests simply don't show up. No phone call, no text, nothing. That is precisely what went down in Jerez last weekend. Except this wasn't some birthday bash or corporate jolly. This was a high-stakes gathering between Liberty Media, the new owners of MotoGP, and the manufacturers who keep this sport alive. And the result? Absolute carnage. In this video, we're getting stuck into three massive stories coming out of Jerez. Ducati's race weekend unraveling at the seams, Gigi Dall'Igna giving it to us straight about just how badly it went, and the brewing power struggle between the manufacturers and Liberty Media that could reshape MotoGP as we know it. If you care about where this sport is headed, stay with us right to the end, because things are about to get very interesting indeed. Right then, let's start with the race itself. On the face of it, Jerez 2026 wasn't all doom and gloom for Ducati. Marc Marquez stepped onto the top step of the podium. Ducati's first Grand Prix win of the season. Di Giannantonio backed him up with a third-place finish, giving Ducati a first and third from their satellite outfits. Decent enough, you might think. But here's the rub. Behind that result lies the ugly truth. Marc Marquez binned it on lap 2, and Francesco Bagnaia was forced to retire from 9th with a mechanical failure. Two factory riders, two DNFs, neither of them saw the checkered flag. For a team of Ducati's stature, that stings something rotten. So what did Gigi Dall'Igna, Ducati's technical head honcho, have to say about it? Dall'Igna didn't mince his words. He called it twice as disappointing. A double-barreled letdown. First, because the conditions were absolutely ripe for the factory bikes to put in a proper shift. Second, because of the manner in which they exited the race, which, frankly, was embarrassing. Have a think about that for a moment. The weather played ball, the track was in good nick, and yet both of their top riders failed to finish. Marc went down on his own, Pecco had the rug pulled out from under him by a technical gremlin. This wasn't bad luck. This is a problem that needs sorting, sharpish. What saved Ducati's blushes on the day was, ironically, the satellite teams of Gresini and VR46. Dall'Igna went out of his way to thank them publicly and join in their celebrations. Just let that sink in. The boss of the factory squad having to tip his hat to the B teams for keeping the Ducati name respectable. That's a bit rich, isn't it? To be fair to Dall'Igna, he wasn't just moaning. He confirmed that Monday's post-race test was put to good use with a raft of aerodynamic developments being trialed, several of which are earmarked to appear on the bikes in the coming rounds, so they're getting on with it, at least on paper. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture, because Jerez wasn't a one-off wobble. Back at the Brazilian Grand Prix, Dall'Igna already described their performance as below expectations, despite having taken pole position and won the sprint race on Saturday. Same pattern, different circuit, brilliant on Saturday and a complete mess on Sunday. From a technical standpoint, the picture is rather sobering. It increasingly looks as though Ducati hit their ceiling back in 2024. There were no meaningful gains in 2025, and the 2026 package doesn't appear to represent a step forward either, judging by performance levels, rider feedback, and general confidence around the garage. Meanwhile, who's absolutely flying? Aprilia. Marco Bezzecchi is leading the championship, and even Marc Marquez, the reigning world champion, already finds himself 44 points adrift after Jerez. At this stage of the season, that's a mountain to climb. Dall'Igna, to his credit, refuses to throw in the towel. The season is long, and he's made clear that these are exactly the sort of challenges that make them love what they do. We'll see whether those words hold up when the pressure really starts to tell. Now then, this is the bit that'll really make your jaw drop. On the Friday evening before the Jerez race, Liberty Media and MotoGP's management laid on their annual due, the casual dinner and evening with the MotoGP family, held at the rather grand Bodegas González Baez winery in Andalusia. Invitations had gone out weeks in advance. The seating plan was sorted. Everything was tickety-boo. Christian Horner, the former Red Bull F1 team principal, was there as a star guest. Derek Chang, CEO of Liberty Media, was in attendance. So was Carmelo Ezpeleta, the long-standing boss of MotoGP. So what happened? 3 of the 5 manufacturers simply didn't show up. Yamaha, Aprilia, and KTM ghosted the entire event, without so much as a heads-up beforehand. But wait, it gets better. Ducati showed up in name only. CEO Claudio Domenicali, technical boss Gigi Dall'Igna, and sporting director Mauro Griselli were all conspicuously absent. The factory sent along team manager Davide Tardozzi and a communications director. Essentially, the B team for a Blevel appearance. Honda did much the same. No senior executive made the trip, just team manager Alberto Puig and a couple of press office staff. Those empty chairs in the middle of the dining room weren't an accident. They were a deliberate, calculated message. The manufacturers are not happy, and they want everyone to know it. And right, so what's got everyone's backs up? As ever, it comes down to money and power. MotoGP and the manufacturers have been locked in negotiations for over a year, trying to thrash out a new commercial agreement to cover the 2027 to 2031 period. Essentially, MotoGP's version of Formula One's Concord Agreement. What's Liberty offering? A linear increase in the financial contribution to each of the 11 teams on the grid. In return, they want manufacturers and teams to be more heavily involved in hospitality, marketing, branding, and social media output. What do the manufacturers want? Something far more substantial. They're pushing for a model similar to the big American sports leagues and the Champions League, where teams receive variable payments based on results, a slice of the television rights, and, crucially, a genuine seat at the table when it comes to governance and decision-making. One flashpoint in particular? The calendar. The manufacturers want a say in where and when the races take place. Which venues, which dates. Liberty, for the time being, is flatly refusing. For the manufacturers, this isn't a minor quibble. It's a matter of principle. They want to be partners in this sport, not passengers told where to turn up and when. After the dinner snub, relations between both sides deteriorated rapidly, and within hours, Liberty changed tack entirely, abandoning the collective negotiation in favor of going round the table individually, talking separately to each manufacturer and team. The logic is fairly transparent. If the manufacturers stand together, they have clout. Split them apart, and suddenly each one is on their own, far easier to deal with. And it seems to be working, at least partially. Honda has already guaranteed its signature. Ducati is warming to the idea. Satellite teams including VR46, Gresini, LCR, and Tech3 are also moving towards agreement. The holdouts, the ones digging their heels in most firmly, are Yamaha, Aprilia, and KTM. Liberty has set a hard deadline. The French Grand Prix, a fortnight away, is the last chance for a collective deal. If that doesn't materialize, Liberty will simply push on and tie up separate agreements with whoever's ready. This is a classic bit of negotiating hardball. Find the ones most willing to deal, get them signed up, and suddenly those holding out are left isolated. The question is whether Yamaha, Aprilia, and KTM have the stomach for a prolonged standoff, or whether the pressure will eventually crack them. There are 2 sides to this, and it's worth being honest about both. Liberty Media have serious ambitions for this sport, what they did with Formula One. Transforming it from a niche obsession into a global cultural phenomenon is genuinely impressive. Drive to Survive Las Vegas packed out grandstands everywhere, and they clearly know how to grow an audience, and they want to do the same for MotoGP. But the manufacturers aren't wrong either. Ducati, Honda, Yamaha, Aprilia, KTM. These names are MotoGP. They pour billions into research, development, and engineering. They bring the prestige, the heritage, the technical theater that makes this sport unlike anything else on 2 wheels. Without them fully bought in, you don't have a championship. You have a crisis. And for Ducati specifically, the timing couldn't be more awkward. At the very moment they need to be laser-focused on hauling back Aprilia's lead in the standings, their senior management are also firefighting a commercial war on an entirely different front. It's not ideal, to put it mildly. So there we have it. Ducati winning at Jerez, but coming away feeling hollow. Dall'Igna pulling no punches about the factory team's failings, and a full-blown power struggle between the manufacturers and Liberty Media that could fundamentally reshape MotoGP from 2027 onwards. Now we want to hear from you. Whose side are you on? Is Liberty Media right to run this championship as they see fit? After all, they bought it, they're investing in it, or do the manufacturers deserve a proper voice, given that they're the ones who make the sport what it actually is? Drop your take in the comments below, Team Liberty or Team Manufacturers. And if you've got a mate who follows MotoGP, send this one their way. This kind of debate is always better with more voices in the room. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a single update as this saga plays out, because the French Grand Prix is 2 weeks away. The deadline is looming and something's got to give. We'll see you in the next one. Keep the shiny side up.